Hey y'all, this is Driver. So we got us another load here out of Cody, Wyoming. This is a power generator, and it's on a little short trailer. And we're going out to Steamboat Springs, Colorado. And I wanted to show you guys. This is kind of a weird location. I wouldn't shut the motor off. It's a little loud inside here because we're actually in a building. It's partially finished. So I don't know if it's supposed to be partially finished or what, because I don't even have a roof in places, as you can see there. And we got to come out of here and make a right out that doorway. So it'll be a fun little start, that's for sure. This is about the shortest I could find, so it's going to be a little longer than I want. I'm trying to find loads that are keeping us inside keep the videos around the 30-minute mark, but so far I've been struggling with that at times. So I've been just kind of getting what we can get. So with that being said, let's so we can get out of this place. We're gonna hook real tight this way. I want to rub my mirror on this door frame here. I think it gave me enough room to get out of here, so we'll see how this goes. Pretty tight. Seen worse, so. We're good right there. So straighten our screen back. Actually, it wasn't too bad, guys. It wasn't bad. Let's see here. Oh, we don't want another job. We already have one. Right that way? Nope. Good deal. Go. Yeah, I seen this, and it was about the closest or shortest. We had actually two options. This was 474 miles going to going down Colorado from Wyoming, or 475 back up into Montana. So I figured we go to Colorado this time for something a little different. It's probably gonna take us as long to get through town like it did last time. We'll get back in the right lane then. Let's see. I would like to try to continue with our stories and stuff that we were talking about earlier. We're not going to get back into the hot shot yet. Kind of just leave that alone for a little while. If people want more information, we'll go with it. So we'll just kind of have to wait on those. So, like I said before, I don't have a whole lot of stories out here on the West Coast because I didn't do a whole lot of it for many, many years. And then what I did do was in Hot Shot Division, and most of it was pretty tame, so to speak. So I didn't really have a whole lot of crazy stuff going on. So here in Wyoming, I told the story about, dealing with high winds. I've been fortunate. I've never flipped a trailer due to wind or any other reason, and never had any major accidents, at least while traveling down the road. I've had a couple parking lot issues. I talked about when I was doing the hot shot stuff that I worked local, and it was one time that I backed a trailer right into a fence, and partially my fault because I should have got out and looked at it, but also partially not my fault because the way they designed the yard and had us angled, I couldn't see the fence very good in my mirrors. And yes, I should have got out and looked, but I thought I was good, so I just kept on moving, and that didn't do me very well. So um, that's really like the biggest things that I had. I got charged for a lot of damages that I did not do. I just got charged for them, and it was one of those things that made me almost quit the RV industry several other times due to it. Um, One example was I parked a trailer in a yard, and the darn thing sat there for 2 months. Nobody hauled it for 2 months, and then finally somebody goes to haul it. Well, while it was sitting out there, somebody else hit the trailer and tore up the side a little bit. It wasn't real bad damage, and if you can take a wild guess of who paid the bill, it was me. That cost me over like $500 or $600 or somewhere around there, and I raised a big stink about it and threatened to quit over the whole ordeal. But you know, I just ended up paying it, and later on I was able to talk to somebody else about it and was able to get the amount reduced because we agreed that I should have still got out and looked, you know, but I just don't believe that I should have got, you know, or I'm sorry, not that one. They think that they still blamed me partially just because I was the last one that pulled it. That's right on that one. Sorry guys, I got that one mixed up. The one that I backed into a fence, I fully admitted to it. I actually called the office before I even unhooked the trailer and said, hey guys, I backed this into the fence, you know, and they said, okay, well, how bad's the damage? I said, well, it put some scuffs and things on the back of the trailer. You know, it's all minimal damage, nothing big. So they had me send them pictures, told me to go ahead and unhook it and they would make their decision later. And I took full, you know, blame. Come on, light, let's go. But let's see. Wyoming, the one thing I liked about Wyoming was it pretty wide open spaces. The thing I didn't like was the wind is horrible in Wyoming. And I meant to point this out during one of our last travels, and I didn't. But if you see when you're playing on the game, it'll look like there's some kind of a weird angled fence. It'll be on the sides of the highway. You typically see them in Wyoming, but you see them in other places too. It almost looks like a fence that's fallen down, but it's been supported in a way, so it's at an angle. Those are built and designed to help push the wind upward over the highway to make the wind less intrusive to the passers and the motorists on the road. It still doesn't fully help, but it does help to an extent. Wyoming is notorious about seeing 50+ mile-an-hour winds. So, and when you're pulling a travel trailer, 25 mile an hour is about the sustained max you want to deal with, and 40 max on your gust. So, and typically if it was getting up to 35 on the gust, I would park. So, and that's another thing that costs you money is when you got to park somewhere, whether it's due to wind, you know, a snow event, you know, a bad storm, you know, it costs you money. Come on, folks. Let's see, we're going to Colorado. Colorado, nothing really major ever happened out there. Another state with some pretty scenery, some wide open areas, some really nice mountain pools, pretty stout and pretty strong. You know, it'll test a truck, that's for sure. There's no real stories there. Let's see, stories from Montana, really. I mean, there's been some beautiful areas, but you know. And bear with me, I'm just trying to think of something that I might be able to talk about. Maybe I should make a list before I do these videos. I'm trying to do these off the fly, on the fly. You know, that way. I really don't want to do scripts. You know, I don't want to be doing scripted talk. Running on a road here. Love how the AI traffic, it just gets to go down those ways and we don't. Wonderful. That's okay, they're out of our way now. I might not be able to come up with a story for you guys. I mean, there's been a lot of things that's happened over the years, but I'm trying to stick within the states that we're currently in. I've got a lot of stories on the East Coast, and we might have to start dipping into those, because it might be a long time before we ever see the East Coast in this game. Let's see. The one that's happened out here on the West Coast is we're in like 30 zone here, and I'm doing like 70 mile an hour. Crap. Okay, so the only thing I can come up with right now on West Coast stuff, this is over actually in Arizona. So Arizona and New Mexico is the same way. You have, when you pull into their way stations, they have you show your registration or your cab card, depending upon the two states. And what they're looking for is that your truck is registered for that state. So most people don't know is in a commercial vehicle that when you purchase your plates for your commercial vehicle, you're buying for the states that you are going to drive in. You don't have to buy all 48 states. It's a lot different than a traditional registration on a car. So in Arizona and New Mexico both. New Mexico has, it was a separate cab card. It was kind of like a 1-year permit, so to speak, to drive through their state if you wasn't from that state. I didn't have any problems there because I actually had the card. When I got over to Arizona, they asked for the registration. It just shows on the registration. And I just gotten issued a new truck. I looked at the paperwork and everything looked good. But when I got up there to their window, the permit book was a complete mess. It was very disorganized. I hated it. I actually was trying to find out if that was going to be a permanent truck or not because I wanted to get a whole different book. Later on down the road, over the years, I've always used a 3-ring binder to make my paperwork nice and pretty, or keep it organized at least. So anyways, I couldn't find what they were wanting, and it was just a complete disorganized mess. So they told me to just park my truck, come inside, and we would go through it. I'm gonna try to pass this truck. If I get up here in front of him or not. This is sketchy. Very sketchy. Okay. Let's get back over there. Almost screwed up there, didn't I? So anyhow, I go in there, and we find the registration. It was just buried amongst all that mess of crap that was in my book. And I apologized for it, and they said they understood, you know, that, and I explained to them that, you know, I just been issued the truck, and they said, well, they understood, and that most companies put their paperwork together in such a disorganized fashion that it, you know, it can be a mess, and they see it pretty regular. Let me get by this guy now. So they looked at the paperwork. It's okay, yeah, you have what you need, but unfortunately, it wasn't correct. And what I mean by that was the paperwork matched the truck, but the paperwork, when they ran it through their DMV stuff, said that it was canceled. So basically, I had canceled registration on my truck. And I'm like, what? How do I have canceled registration? Because, I mean, you're looking at a registration paper, and it has an expiration date on it. And the expiration date was good. But when they ran it through their DMV list, it was expired. Or canceled, actually. So they asked me to go out and verify the plate number on my truck. So I go out there to verify that, and I wrote it down and brought it back in, and we go to look at it. I had a whole different plate on my truck. They ran the numbers on that plate, and it was good. So I didn't have registration for that plate, though, which deemed, you know, that I didn't have registration proper for that vehicle. So amongst of all the confusion and everything, even though that the registration, the plate on the truck was good, but I had no registration for it, and the registration I had on me was expired, they wrote me a ticket for canceled registration. It was $200, and this was in 2004, I believe. So that was pretty expensive. On the plus side, the company I worked for paid for the ticket, but it still put the points on my license, which was never good. So, that's a tight curve. So after that, I always double check that everything was in order, but I don't have a way to check for canceled or whatever on registrations. I mean, only thing I can go by is the paperwork. And I asked multiple times to both the officers there and the company I work for and all that stuff of how can I keep information on a vehicle. You know, how am I supposed to know if it's been canceled or whatever? And sadly, I never got a straight answer. And at times I was even told it was none of my business, you know, and that was the company telling me that. So it's a lot of reason why I don't like working for a lot of your big companies that supply you with all that information. What's this up here? What we got going on here? You're just on the side of the road. So, so anyhow, I had to buy a one-way permit. I don't remember what that permit cost. And I drove onto my delivery and did what I had to do, and I turned around and came back. Oh, this is that cooler we went through a while back the other day. It's pretty nice through here. Pretty cool. So, interesting note was I was supposed to stop and get another one coming back, and I never did. So, there was that. Yeah, no, I got to turn my brights off. And then the interesting note to add to this was I got back, and so at the time I lived in Texas, and the company I worked for was out of Texas. So when I got back, I asked them to straighten all this out, and that I better have the right registration and everything, because of that ticket I'd received. And they assured me everything would be taken care of, and it was. The new registration matched the plate on the truck, and, you know, that seemed to solve all my problems, except for the fact that points on my license for a ticket I should never got. So, so then they send me the exact same way right back out west, and both times I was going to California. So I go out to California, and mind you, I go through that same way station. As a matter of fact, I went inside and showed them that they gave me new stuff. I was actually hoping that they would dismiss my ticket. That's actually what I was wanting, but that didn't work in my favor. But, you know, I talked to them about it and showed them that it was all straightened out. And then I continue on to California. I get over to California, and I go through their way station, and they tell me to park my truck and come inside. I'm like, oh Lord, what did I do this time? So I park my truck, I go inside, and as I'm walking up the door, the guy's already walking out. And he's like, we got to measure your truck. I'm like, measure my truck? It's an 18-wheeler. I mean, they're all the same size, right? What's this guy doing here? Y'all notice that? Instead of him using a turn signal, it's flashers. Weird. So they go out and measure my truck, and another rule thing that we have in the trucking industry is called bridge law, and every state is different, and I think this is the dumbest thing in the world. I understand the reasoning behind it, but I still think it's stupid that every state is different on this. So bridge law is measured where your kingpin locks into your fifth wheel. The distance from there to the center of the very rear axle of that trailer can only be a certain distance. So in most states, it is 41 feet. In California, it is 40. Now, I was aware of this, and before I got into California, I stopped in a rest area and I adjusted it to the 40 mark. I did it as close to the state line as I could do. I think I did it to the Welcome Center. So I did that. Where are you going, dude? There, good. So I adjusted, and from my measurements, it was close. You know, it wasn't exactly perfect, but it was close. So now we fast forward. I'm in the weigh station. They're out there measuring my truck, and the guy goes, "Oh, your bridge law is wrong. Bring your license and everything in." So I bring my license and all my paperwork and my logbook and all this garbage, and I go in there, and they wrote me a $280 ticket for the bridge law. And I told them, I said, wait a minute. I said, I'd set the bridge. I said, it's exactly on 40 feet. He goes, oh no, it's not. It's on 40 foot and 1 inch. I said, 40 foot, 1 inch? I said, you're writing me for an inch? I mean, you know, that's a little ridiculous, right? And because I made those comments, he said, well, let me see your logbook. And so now he decides he's going to tear my logbook apart and see how many more tickets he can write me because I'm asking questions. He never found anything in the logbook, was only able to write me for the bridge law. But I was going to challenge it, but the company I worked for wouldn't let me. They wouldn't give me the time off to challenge the ticket. So I never did. So yeah, and all those 2 tickets came in about a 2-week span. So it's just one of those things that a lot of us truck drivers have to deal with on a regular basis, honestly, that we constantly are getting scrutinized for doing our job, actually, which is sad. You know, and just one little minor mistake can land you a ticket that costs you hundreds of dollars and points on your license and all this stuff. I mean, in my opinion, you know, it's wrong. It really is, especially when it's a company vehicle. I can understand if I was, you know, speeding or driving without any hours or something in that neighborhood, something that's really going to hurt people. But when it's, you know, something that's out of my control, I mean, how is that my fault? Sorry, taking advantage of being able to take a drink while we're at red light. We're going to be here for a couple minutes, I think. So, yeah, if any of you guys ever get into trucking in one form, fashion, or another, make sure you have all your stuff right. Make sure you are working for a company that's doing things legit. I have worked for a couple of companies that was not doing their stuff legit. There was one company I worked for them for under 6 months. I should have worked for them longer just because it made me look bad because I quit. But I quit working for them because their trucks were that bad. I mean, you couldn't drive a truck over 45 mile an hour without the front end shaking because the tires were out of balance and they wouldn't rebalance them. A lot of their trailers had light failures, you know, lights that didn't work or wouldn't work, and they refused to fix any of it. It's not a good idea to be working for anybody that's not even willing to do things right on their end. I at one point got to where with that, I started with that company and I carried that on with other companies over the years, was if there was a light out and I could fix it, I would buy the light if I didn't have one on me, and I would fix the light, and then I would go to my destination or get close to my destination, and then I would take my light back out if they wouldn't give me my money back for it. So kind of bad I had to do it that way, but it's what you had to do to make yourself legal and not get tickets. Here's cruising on pretty decent for once. I say that. Now we're catching. The one thing I have been curious about, and if any of you guys that are from other countries, I pretty much know a lot of the U.S. laws and kind of how things go along here, but in other countries, you know, how do y'all's laws work? Can you get tickets for the same crap I got tickets for? Can you, you know, do you have companies over there that do the exact same stuff? Is y'all's DOT or whatever they're called? Ours is Department of Transportation, DOT. Are they as bad as ours? You know, how's it work in your country? I've been kind of curious of that, and I've actually looked it up. But you know, like I said before, you can't believe everything you read and hear on the internet, right? Gotta find this guy. a great thought, wasn't it? More fixing to turn anyway, so what does it matter? I was looking at my fuel gauge and seeing how much fuel we had. Pretty decent on fuel. Those are all turning, so what's in this? Right, coming? Oh, yeah. Good Lord, take a while to turn here. Good, finally. Let's see here. What else have I dealt with over the years? Or any other goofy stories like that? Talking about the hotshot stuff, I will mention this, that in the western states, our truck registrations are not recognized in those states. Sometimes it's just the trailer, sometimes it's the truck and the trailer registration. Obviously the trailers are not technically registered. They're using what they use. They're called transport plates, which is kind of like a one-way plate. They don't recognize those in certain states, and you have to buy permits. The permits are cheap. They're like $20. The company always reimburses you, so it's not a horrible thing. And even if they don't recognize your truck registration, you have to buy a permit for that. The company most of them will reimburse you. New Mexico is one that I do know, and I think Arizona is another. Idaho is another. Montana maybe. I think California does recognize it, surprisingly. So, yeah. See. Trying to think of other stories and stuff, guys. Like, Green Arrow. Yep, now we're going. Okay. Let's get on the interstate and see if we can make some time here. Get this delivered. Yeah. It's pretty over there on the right. Where the rocks are out in there. Oop, road. Where's that sun bright? Lord. Somebody hand me my sunglasses. Still getting used to this controller, guys. I don't know why it's throwing me off so bad in this game. Oh crap. Hold on. 100% my fault. Didn't pay attention. Got lucky though. Like seeing stuff like that. Like an old gas station or something right there. Or what that's supposed to be. It's pretty cool though. But we didn't get on the interstate for too long, did we? And if anybody's wondering, I have also removed the music, the background music we had. I'm getting a bunch of copyright crap on it now for some weird reason. So far, it's not affecting my channel. It's not an actual strike, but I don't want it to turn into one. So I have fully removed it. I apologize, there won't be no background music, but that is what it is. I don't want to take chances of losing my channel over something stupid like that. And I think it's stupid anyways when it says it's copyright free, you know, and then they want to give me a claim. And the sad part is it's doing it with YouTube Music now. Originally it was from Bensound, and now it's YouTube doing it. So for the time being, it has been removed and will probably stay permanently removed. The only time we'll have music in games is those games that have music that won't hit me with a strike. So cross our fingers on that. Alright, so we got about 100 miles left to go. Apologize for the language, but Lord, did they stop quick. I didn't think I was really going that fast, but the speed limit dropped too, so. Yeah, right there. Then it drops to 30 and we end up stopping, almost. Gotta love AI traffic. Good, they're turning. It's a great thing. IHOP, which looks like a garage. here? Of course there's a way station. I'm not stopping. Why would I want to come in there? That's a first. I don't know if y'all saw that back there. On the right side, the little pull-off road there. There's an ATV sitting there. Don't usually see little four-wheelers on here. That's obviously something new that I've never seen on here before. Pete. He drove straight through that gate. That's funny. Assume that's a one-way. Yeah, it looks like we're all turning left here, or at least two of us. Motorhome and that truck. I'm not sure about the car yet. Would like to see an improvement to the traffic light system in this game. That would be nice. Go. Okay, they're going straight. That's good. We're not gonna make the light. We're gonna sit here through a whole nother rotation, guys. Jeez. You know how bad I just want to punch and go. A lot of times if I'm playing with friends or I play by myself without recording, I will. But for the sake of the video, I am gonna go ahead and just sit here. Much as I don't like it. Later on, I probably will eventually get tired of sitting here like this and just go. Changing over there now. There we go. Keep going before it changes his mind, right? Not again. We just had this happen, what, like 2 videos ago? It's doing it again? Let's see. Well, it's moving. That's a bonus. Oh, it was a railroad track. I see the sign now. Wasn't even looking at the signs, I was looking at why we were stopped. So it must have been a train. Like that little pickup in front of us, that looks like an old Ford. I don't know about you guys, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pass all this traffic. I think so. Alright, gonna make the video a little longer, I guess. Guys only got one brake light. Must be some glitches going on with the game here, because we've had a lot of traffic the past few videos and weird things with lights. Like this guy's only got one brake light, and that one, what was it, like a motorhome or something like that? Every time it changed lanes, it was like it was using 4 ways instead of a turn signal. They must have some issues going on here. They've been doing a lot of changes, and to be 100% honest, I haven't been happy with most of them. But there's been some cool changes that I have liked. Looks like this guy's only got one brake light. Which, I mean, an old truck like that, you may only. This billboard say truckers. FM. Press R to listen. Oh, it wants me to turn the radio on. I'm not turning the radio on, guys. Sorry. Music in this game will hit me for copyright. I do know that. Steamboats. Are we here? Oh, we are. 4 miles. I didn't realize we were this close. There's a garage in this town. We might have to go check that out later. I'll check. You guys know what garages look like, don't you? Okay, so 3 miles. We're not too far away. That's good. That airman thing, I'm sure you see it there floating in the air. That's pretty funny. Neat to see that in here, though. It's not as realistic as in real life, but still pretty cool. Usually you see that at like car dealerships, at an auto parts store. It's still green. Let's go. Go. know the game didn't freeze or anything, guys. Red lights. At least it's red lights in this game. I'd hate them to put a stop sign in here. Oh my god, that'd be horrible. Sure, you're turning, dude. Sorry guys, I don't know what to say when you're stuck in traffic, because all you're doing is biting your tongue. If you're not, you're cussing, right? Might not be exactly cussing, but just saying some pretty nasty things, even though it might not be a cuss word. Like, get the heck out of my way. Go. Might need to go into my settings and see if traffic's turning up real bad or something. Turn in here, so that's a start. Normally, guys, I don't get this close. I'm trying to make enough room for traffic to pass. Get through pickup? There you go. You got it. Let's put it back on. If you're wondering, in real life, I drive pretty similar. Stomping at red lights, things like that. I like to see the ground in front of me. It gives me enough room to turn. In real life, it's a safety thing. If the car in front of you broke down, or you know, people started jumping out, you can at least turn and maybe get around them. That's just me. And the only time I ever get up close like this is if I'm trying to clear the lane or an intersection or something like that that I failed to negotiate correctly, you know. Day we're gonna go. Okay. Keep going, man. Keep going, because I'm sure we can both make this light. If not, yes, great. Just turn. I just imagine if we'd had done this drive with the escorts doing an oversized load like we ran there a few days ago. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Especially with all this traffic. Lordy. Oh, there's cable cars there. Those are moving, guys. Look at that. Geez, that's pretty cool. I don't remember seeing those before. I'm sure they've been in there for a while. Just now noticing them. This game has came a long ways, in my opinion. They've added a lot of neat stuff to it. So, alright, so where we're going is right here. Oh, there's the driveway. So let's get ready. We're going to swing this way. It looks like a construction zone. Yeah, it is a construction zone. Get to the trigger. Let's see. Where do you want it? No. That'll work. I'll deal with that. Right ahead. Seeing these construction zones makes me want to play a little bit of Construction Simulator. I don't think I've done that for this channel. Thought about it though. Yeah. Delivering. See how we did here real quick. Excellent. All right. 14 grand. So that ain't too bad, guys. So let's see here. Go back into the game for a minute. Oh, yeah. Oh, we're still kind of under that trailer. That's okay. Oh, wow. Hold on. You hear all the noises in the construction. That's pretty cool. Or a skill saw. Yeah. That's another delivery done, guys. Sorry if you don't like the construction sounds. I just think it's kind of cool they've implemented this stuff in here. So, but that's gonna be a wrap, guys. So I'm gonna look for another load for us here later on, and all that good fun stuff. So until then, I'll see you later.